On September 26, 1983, a Soviet computer malfunctioned, sending a code that read that the U.S. had launched 3 ICBMs at the Soviet Union, and leader of the Soviet air defense, Stanislav Yurgevich Petrov, was commanded to fire all Soviet ICBMs at the U.S., but he refrained because he realized that if the U.S. wanted to launch world war on the Soviets, that they would have launched more than 5 ICBMs, which are just like ballistic missiles. So by not launching, he effectively saved the world from a nuclear meltdown. Also, another reason that this could have been perceived as a nuclear attack is because just 3 weeks earlier, the Soviets had shot down Korean Flight 007 and killed all 264 passengers, including many Americans and a U.S. congressman named Larry McDonald. You can read about him in our next segment.
A Soviet MiG and Congressman Larry McDonald.
On 26 September 1983, Stanislav Petrov, a lieutenant colonel in the Soviet Air Defense Force, was an officer on duty at the Su-15 bunker near Moscow, which housed a command central of the Soviet early warning satellite code name OKU-5. Petrov's responsibility included observing the satellite's early warning network and notifying his carriers of any independent nuclear missiles attack against the Soviet Union. If notification was received from the early warning system that inbound missiles had been detected, the Soviet Union strategy was to immediately nuclear counterattack against the United States launch on warning. It in the doctrine of mutual destruction. Shortly after midnight, the bunker computers reported that one intercontinental ballistic missile was heading towards the Soviet Union from the US-3 unreadable source. Petrov considered that detection a computer error, since a first strike nuclear attack by the United States was likely involved hundreds of stimulus missiles launched in order to display any Soviet means of a counterattack. Furthermore, the satellite system had been questioned in the past. Petrov dismissed the warning as a false alarm, though according of the event differed as whether he notified his superiors or not. Full needed after the concluded that the computer detection were false and that no missiles had been launched. Later, the computer identified 4 potential missiles in the air, all directed towards the Soviet Union. Petrov again suspected that the computer system was malfunctioning, despite have no other sources of information to confirm his suspicion of Soviet Union land radar was incapable of detecting missiles beyond the horizon, and waiting for it to possibility affect the threat would limit the Soviet Union response time to a few minutes.
It was subsequently determined that the false alarms were caused by a rare alignment of sunlight on high altitude clouds in the satellite's Molina orbits, and error later corrected by cross-referencing a geostationary satellite. In explaining the factors leading to his decision, Petrov cited his belief in training that any U.S. strike would be massive, so 5 missiles seemed an illogical start. In addition, the launch detection system was new and, in his view, not wholly trustworthy, while ground radar had failed to pick up corroborative evidence even after several minutes of the false alarm. The aftermath, Petrov underwent intense questioning by his superiors about his actions. Initially, he was praised for his decision. General Yuri Votintsev, then commander of the Soviet Air Defense Missile Defensive Units, who was the first to hear Petrov's report of the incident and the first revealed it to the public in the 1990s, states that Petrov's correct actions were duly noted. Petrov himself states he was initially praised by Votintsev and was promised a reward, but recalls that he was also reprimanded for imperial filing a paper with the pretext he had not described in the incident in the military diary. The incident became known publicly in the 1990s following the publication of Votintsev memoirs. Widespread media reports since then have increased public awareness of Petrov's actions. Some Cold War analysis question whether the Soviet Union standards and protocol required multiple source warnings would have been strictly followed in the case of the missile attack warning involving Petrov.
Oleg Kalugin, a former KGB chief of foreign and counterintelligence who knew Soviet chairman Andropov well, says that Andropov's distrust of Americans was profound. It was conceivable that if Petrov had declared the satellite warnings valid, such an erroneous report could have provoked the Soviet leadership into becoming bellicose. Kalugin says the danger was in the Soviet leadership thinking the Americans may attack, so we better attack first. The early warning radar system. An early warning radar is a radar system used primarily for long-range detection of targets, i.e., allowing defenses to alert as early as possible before the intruder reaches its target, giving the defense the maximum amount of time in which to operate. This contrasts it with systems used primarily for tracking gun laying, which tend to be shorter range but more high accuracy. The ICBM missile, a Minuteman III IBCM test launch from Vandenberg Air Force Base, California, United States. An intercontinental ballistic missile, or ICBM, is a ballistic missile with a minimum range of 5,500 kilometers, or about 3,400 miles. Primarily designed for nuclear weapons, delivering one or more nuclear warheads. Similarly, conventional chemical and biological weapons can also be delivered with varying effectiveness. Most modern designs support multi-independently targetable re-entry vehicles, or MRVs, allowing a single missile to carry several warheads of which can strike different targets. Early ICBMs had limited accuracy that allowed them to be used only against the largest targets, such as cities. They were seen as a safe basing option, one that keep deterrent forces close to home where it would be difficult to attack. Attacks against military targets were desired still demanded that use of a manned bomber. Second and third generation designs dramatically improved accuracy to a point that even where the smallest target points can be successfully attacked. ICBMs are differentiated by having greater range and speed other than ballistic missiles, intermediate range ballistic missiles, or IRBMs, medium range ballistic missiles, or MRBMs, short range ballistic missiles, or SRBMs. These shorter range ballistic missiles were known to be collectively as theater ballistic missiles. There is no single standardized definition of what ranges or can be categorized as
intercontinental, intermediate, medium, or short. And this is a diagram of an ICBM commonly used in the Cold War. Thank you.